Hey, this is Logan Bad Visual from Phoenix.
Hey, this is Prank from Team Pandemic.
Hey, this is Mike JTS2 MP from Team Dirty Bird.
Hey, this is Hipshot from DNO and you're watching e-rev.
e-rev, don't just watch it, get into it.
This is Hazen's Only Good Player Morris.
This is Mike Simpson from Powerhouse Gaming.
Yo soy Matt Chimpey Gomez del equipo de Hexagon Gaming.
Hey, it's the Queen of the Hey,
this is Chuck Fuck White from Team DRT.
Hi, this is Salvador from 50 Cal and you're watching e-rev TV.
e-rev, don't just watch it, get into it.
Salut, c'est François Joufflu-Lortie, de Finale Destination.
Hey, this is Big Tuck, baby Chase Tucker from 50 Cal.
This is Rob SSR Myers from Frag Dominant.
Hey, this is Brett from Team Guardian.
Hey guys, this is Nabor from Team Pandemic, and you're watching e-rev TV.
e-rev, don't just watch it, get into it.
e-rev, applied directly to the forehead. e-rev, applied directly to the forehead.
e-rev is not responsible for any monitor-to-head related injuries. View at your own risk.
e-rev.
Good evening and welcome to e-rev TV. My name is Anger here from e-rev TV, and tonight we're going to be discussing a topic that everyone in the North American COD4 community has strong opinions about: the Euro rule set. Now, the goal of this cast is to get the community talking about what rule set should be implemented, or for that matter, if any rules should be changed at all, since some of the community enjoys the way the game is played now. As we all know from past forum threads, some of the community wants a change, but to what degree is up to you, the community. And especially the league managers that have the overall effect on how these changes happen. Tonight you will hear various opinions from different admins, players, and league officials on how they feel about this topic. Keep in mind the European and the North American rule set neither are perfect separately, nor are they perfect combined. Hopefully we can find a happy medium and make the changes that are best for competition. Before we jump into this, if you have any serious questions that you want to ask anybody on this panel that relates to this topic, make sure to join us at #E-Rev on the Game Surge or QNet Network. And again, joining with me is the co-host here, Eric Wansum. And Wansum, I'm going to let you take it off from here, as you're going to be pretty much introducing everybody that is taking part in this discussion.
All right, will do. Thank you, Anger. Again, we are joined by most of the prevalent members of the COD4 community. Lots of people here from North America, several people coming from across the pond to talk to us about the rule set over there. Had some people that have played both. So right now, Mayday, I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody. If you want to kick that slide in for me. You'll be joined, of course, by myself and Anger here at e-rev. Kyle Hackett-Feely, head writer for North America at GotFrag for COD, will be joining us. Ted Sangati, COD4 writing talent. You may know him from, Amped Esports, GameRight, well as Team Pandemic, also a CEVO admin. Right after him, we will have Sean from Cyber Athlete Amateur League. He's the COD head admin over there. We do have my man Moores, as he would say, the only good player in COD4, the head admin for Total Gaming League. Right below him, we'll have Ian Tannehill, CEVO lead COD4 admin. And getting into the players here, we'll be joined by Joe Nabor Amorosa, Team Pandemic captain, Juvenile from Team Nexus, Havocs from Team Guardians, Starbuck from Focal, JTF2 from Dynamo, NRV from Mob, Grim from PHG, Rob Wiz from Evil Geniuses, which is going to be very interesting, as he has played both rule sets over there at I-33, performed very well. Great job, EG, I'm a fanboy. Below him, we do have Bodes from Team Hassan. Very, very prevalent Counter-Strike player as well. So the first thing we're going to dictate here, guys, I want to thank you all for coming, being a part of this. Hopefully we can get things ironed out. And the first thing we want to cover, for the people that don't know, what are the differences between the North American and Europe rule sets? And, I'm sure, Hackett, you have a lot of insight on this, as well as Morgs. Morgs, if you could give us a rundown, if you don't mind, sort of what the rule set is in Europe right now.
It's pretty much 1 minute 45 second round time, 5 second plant, 7.5 second defuse, spec ops are limited to 2, and snipers limited to 1, shotguns limited to 1, no deep impact. That's about it, really.
Alrighty, again, that is Morgs. I did not introduce him. He is the man that helped set up I-33 at several major lands in Europe. In this caster's opinion, Europe is far ahead of North America as far as competitive gaming goes, at least in the stance of competitive events. So he'll be a good man to have on board. Hackett, if you don't mind, give us a rundown on what we're doing currently over here across the pond.
Oh, I mind. Basically, the biggest difference that we're doing over here as opposed to what they have running over in the European game type is that we play multi-bomb, what everyone's used to from Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 1. Any of the 5 players on the offensive side can plant the bomb at any time. They play single bomb, so only one guy can carry it. We have some of the perks included that they've taken out, such as Deep Impact, which allows you to frag guys through walls, which happens all the time. And I guess the plant timers and defuse timers are different too, but I'm not sure what the difference is. I think we're running on 5 and 7 right now, but maybe Joe knows more than I do.
5.8.
5.8, yeah.
Alright, on that note, you mentioned Deep Impact. We'll get right into it here. All you North American players, feel free to chime in, let me know. Currently, in my opinion, when they took out the wall blips from Deep Impact, where you could not see your crosshairs flashing through the wall when you hit somebody, I thought that was phenomenal. It helped change the game for the better, in my opinion. I think we need to take out the sound that you hear from Deep Impact and leave Deep Impact. If anybody has any rebuttals, your feelings on Deep Impact, go ahead and speak up now. First one to speak gets it. I'll go ahead and kick it to Bodes first, and anybody else that wants to have a rebuttal, anything like that, we'll go to you next.
Hi, this is Bodes from Team Hassan. I came from 1.6 Counter-Strike, and wall blips and sound were not used when you were spamming the wall. As the Americans use sound through the wall when you hit the blips. I think that they should take out the sound when you're firing the weapon. If you're firing through the wall and you're hitting someone, you shouldn't be able to hear it. And that's what I have to say about that.
Alrighty, Nabor, your rebuttal?
Hi. Well, I wanted to just talk briefly about how big of an impact it is in our game, and I'll tell you my stance afterwards. But for the most part, I mean, Kyle was right, Hackett's right. You see a lot of walling going on in our game type. I myself is I'm a fan of this. I probably wall more than most people do, but if I'm looking at the gameplay itself, if you look at how many objects in our maps, get modified by removing deep impact. An example of this is the bomb site. You cannot wall through the bomb site unless you shoot through the tiny crevices within it or under it, under the pallets or whatever. So the other things like the strike window you can't shoot through. I mean, I said on Godfrag my stance on this, but I mean, when I play with it now, like when I play with it in the last few days on the TGO rule set, I kind of understood some of the things, like how it benefits taking it out. Taking it out, what it does sometimes is you have players who you may know where they are, and you may be able to still wall them, but the idea is that what you want to do is aim. The idea is you have to learn to aim on people, and pick, like, you have to pick your fights wisely, and when you shoot, you have to aim correctly, like on people instead of the wall they're behind. So I mean, this comes into like the skill factor a little bit. So I think that's something to remember when debating about this. And I guess my stance on it is to remove it.
All right, thank you. That again is Nabor from Team Pandemic. Again, let me ask you guys another question here. If we do remove deep impact, should the damage of regular wall spams go up or stay the same?
NRB?
Well,
so this is Nerve, Jesse Daly from Mob. I think if we remove deep impact, the damage should go up because it seems pretty weak. I know that walling does go on quite a bit and it does make noise through the walls, which I think is a good thing, because you can tell if you're walling someone, and that should definitely stay if the damage is dumbed down or if deep impact is definitely taken out. That's how I feel on that.
Alrighty, JTF?
Hi, this is JTF from Dynamo, and I kind of agree with what Nabor was saying, because the concept of skill gap is constantly being brought up in these discussions, and I think that if we keep in deep impact, or if we increase the damage through walls, what it leads to is people, instead of aiming at someone's head if they're peeking a window, they're just, as soon as they see the head, they're shooting right at the wall, right at the body, because I believe they don't use hitboxes or whatever, and like a shot in the foot will be the same damage as a shot in the chest. So a lot of times you wouldn't even shoot at the guy's head, you'd just be shooting at the wall below him, and I think we should eliminate that if we want the truly better players to rise above the rest, which is what the game should be about.
Alright, definitely. I'll agree with you there. It does add a skill factor to the game, and a lot of players, including Nabor, several people in this room have mentioned, Havocs in particular, the skill gap is not there that you saw in Call of Duty 2 and perhaps you see in Counter-Strike. There is definitely an upper tier in this game, but it is very easy for good open teams to make a stand versus a professional team, whether people admit it or not. That's definitely the case in my opinion. To wrap this up, Bodes, you have a closing comment here on Deep Impact.
Hi, this is Bodes from Team Austin. I feel Deep Impact could be removed, but coming from Counter-Strike, the limitation on the damage through the wall, it would take up to 8 to 10 bullets to kill someone through a wall, unless you hit the head. Deep Impact right now, what I was told by, I believe, Juvenile from Team Nexus, was that it's 70% on Deep Impact. Taking it out would make walling pretty much useless. I feel walling's a part of the game. It's realistic, and you go to the basics where if you want to play a realistic game, or do you want to play a more competitive game where there's more strats and skill and nades and flashes. And I just feel that if you were to remove Deep Impact, that the wall shots would just become useless, and those are exciting to watch when you're watching on shoutcasting and all that type of stuff on LAN. And that's all I have to say about that.
That's definitely agreeable, especially from a shoutcaster's point of view. I'm not good at COD 4. I've never been good at any game, and I will say that it's very, very fun to watch wall spamming occur. I think it adds an interesting dynamic to the game. It looks like we do have some more people wanting to add in on this. We'll extend it just a little bit for you guys. Havix, what do you got on Deep Impact?
Take it out, because that'll allow for people to quick lean around walls, and there'll be some skill involved, because this game doesn't really take any skill right now. It's all just spraying, and that would promote people leaning around walls. And a lot of bad players don't even know how to lean. I've seen a lot of players that don't even know how to lean and strafe at the same time, and that's one way that you could create a skill gap. Maybe not on the bigger levels, but I just think everything the Europeans have is a good idea, except maybe multi-bomb.
Alrighty, thank you, Havix. That's Havix from Team Guardians right there. Closing thoughts on this one, I'll give that to you, Nerve there. So Nerve from Nexus, I'm sorry, Nerve, what do you got on this?
Well, it was Nexus, but a long time ago. But anyways,
My bad.
I like the whole topic, the skill gap topic has been brought up. That's one thing I really like that this game has brought, which is very different from the other Call of Duties, is that there was a lot more put into the game with perks and all. Even though the perks have been quite limited, there's been a lot more aspects brought into the game that can broaden the skill gap quite a bit and allow the better players to really shine. And Havix is 100% right. That, I mean, I really noticed that in the other Call of Duties it's all about leaning walls, and there's even the whole left leaning issue. And honestly, I don't even know if left leaning works in this game, because leaning is barely used because you can wall through walls so easily. So I definitely agree that it's probably a good idea to broaden the skill gap more by limiting the damage through walls, by removing deep impact or whatever has to be done.
Alrighty, that was a good discussion there on Deep Impact. Again, a lot of people talking on IRC. If you have some questions you would like answered, we'll possibly get to them. Send those to Anger or myself. My name is Eric in IRC, so go ahead and send those to me. We're going to move on real quick to keep this thing timely. The next topic I want to go to, of course, is the 1 bomb versus 5 bombs. Mayday, if you can kick that slide for us. And I got to tell you, I think it's a very double-edged sword. I personally feel that the COD series has been a lot more fun to play than the Counter-Strike series, and it should remain so. While Counter-Strike has continued to succeed competitively immensely, far more than any COD game, I don't want to see this game turn into Counter-Strike. So again, the argument here, the Europeans play with 1 bomb, the North American teams play with 5 bombs. I will start off things by saying if you put it to 1 bomb, I feel like it'll become even more defensively sided. It already is, in my opinion, especially on maps such as Pipeline and things of that like. So if anybody has anything to say, yay or nay, hopefully somebody yay for the 1 bomb. First off, let me know, and we'll get started on that. We'll start with Nabor.
Hi, Joe from Pandemic. My take on the 1 bomb issue is, it's pretty simple. You have, right now, 5 people running around maps. Most of the time when you play versus mid-tier teams, or even some high-tier teams, I'm not going to make mention, but most people just run around nowadays. You rarely see a coordinated team with a coordinated push that are doing things, together or teamwork related. And I think if you have 1 bomb, you have to have a team that's all on the same page at strat time. I mean, otherwise, right now as it stands, basically, if you put 1 bomb in, teams are going to start taking this a little more seriously, and there's it's gonna, I don't know, I just feel like you're gonna see way more teamwork involved, and you're gonna see a better. The most important part about my point actually is this: you're gonna see better teams with more teamwork, stand out over others. And say I'm promoting my own agenda, but that's just how I feel about that, and I think it's a great thing for the game.
I want to add something here. This is Anger. At least from a casting perspective, watching the European cast with the 1 bomb, there's, at least in War Room lately, there's been times where there's been maybe boring moments in the War Room, or it's been really quiet, or maybe they're just not talking about what's going on exactly at that moment when they're playing. Maybe with the 1 bomb rule set, the communication in War Room might be a little bit more intriguing for the people to listen to, because there is a little bit more of a of teamwork involved in communication. That's just coming from a selfish standpoint, from the e-rev perspective at least.
Alrighty, thank you, Anger. Moving on to, let's go to Ted Audie, the man who brought Con 2 to WSVG, as we like to say, and give him a little plug there. Ted, what do you got on the subject?
Well, you know, Joe's absolutely right about the skill gap and just the coordination. I mean, when you look at a bunch of teams playing different maps, a lot of teams, they just work on their defensive strats. They don't go for any kind of offensive strats. They just like to pug it. And one of the things, if you watch the I-33 casts, is that they don't just rush into a bomb site with 3 spec ops. I mean, that's what we do now in North America. The bomb planner is the last one in the bomb site. He always is when you play the European rule set. And that just adds, you know, another aspect of that skill gap, which is what we were all talking about earlier.
Agreed. Let's go for a little bit of the nay here. Starbuck, I know you said you'd shank anybody that voted for the 1 bomb at Nerveland. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Hey, this is Starbuck from Focal. My thoughts on this are, they're pretty brief, actually. I just want to paint a picture to everybody, thinking, you know, if we do adapt this 1 bomb in COD 4, think about playing Pipeline, as we all love the map. Actually, there's, you know, a lot of people actually do like the map for some unknown reason. Imagine if there's 1 bomb in Pipeline and you're trying to plan it, you're trying to get in A or in B. It's almost impossible. I mean, the map is defensive-sided up the yin-yang as it is, you know, 10-2, 11-1. If you get 3 rounds on Pipeline, you know, there's some divine intervention against most teams. So 1 bomb on that map, it wouldn't work. And the same goes for some other maps. I mean, maybe, you know, if the bomb gets dropped in some spots in Vacant and stuff, like I said, in Vacant, without the deep impact removed, you can wall everything. And if the opposite team knows where the bomb is, you know, you can sit there and just frickin' spray the wall, and the opposite team will not even get close to the bomb. Also, you know, when you have 1 bomb and you're trying, you know, to plant the bomb, you know, as someone said before, the game is very defensive-sided, as it is. I think it was you, Wansome. And, you know, with 1 bomb, the bomb gets dropped, and someone needs to go back and pick it up. It's just, it makes it even more defensive-sided. And I understand with people trying to bring up the skill gap, and I'm all for that. I'm all for taking deep impact out and all the other good stuff, limiting spec ops, that kind of thing. I just don't think, you know, single bomb is going to work, and I don't really want to make a reference to Counter-Strike, because even if we adapt everything that Counter-Strike has, it's still not, you know, it's not going to be Counter-Strike. It's still going to be our COD 4, our baby. But I just think single bomb is not going to work in this game.
All right, Starbuck, one-time caster here at e-rev, taking a break for us, but great commentary there. Let's go to Havix here, as he has a rebuttal for the 5 bomb.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea at all, taking multi-bomb out. This game's already extremely team-based because there's hardly any individual skill whatsoever in this game. It's like ridiculous how little individual skill is really needed. And you take out multi-bomb, you're gonna go you're gonna see a lot less plants go down if that happens. And there's, first of all, that's gonna the gameplay won't be as diverse. It won't be as fun to watch. And secondly, you're taking away the one aspect where individual skill and intelligence can really shine, which is in clutch situations, whether it be 1 versus 5 or whatever, 1 versus 2. That's where you can actually, people can use their intelligence to win battles rather than just spraying. So definitely keep multi-bomb in.
Alrighty, there's another vote for the nay there. Nerve, what do you got, man?
There's a couple things I want to say. Way back in the day, I used to play Day of Defeat, which is completely irrelevant, but I came to Call of Duty and Call of Duty 1. I've been playing it for countless years now, probably longer than some of the people in here, most people in here. But anyways, the reason why I came to the game was because it was fun, you know, right from the beginning, and I loved multi-bomb the entire time in Call of Duty 1 and 2. I didn't think Call of Duty 2 was as much of a good game as Call of Duty 1 was, and I actually like COD 4 more than both of the first 2 games. But as far as concerning changing to single bomb, it would change the way the game's been played forever. And even going into clutch situations like Havix is talking about, even if it's not a 1v1 or if it's like a 3v2 or anything, if you have 2 people that have the ability to plant and you're on a small map where lots of the maps in this game are small, you could fake one site with one player and plant the next. Like, there's so many different situations where multi-bomb can come into changing the gameplay in multiple situations. So I just don't think that the Call of Duty series should be changed from multi to single, because that would be going more towards Counter-Strike. Even though I didn't want to mention Counter-Strike, I just don't want to see this game go to that. And this game's been on the rise for a long time, and I think it will someday take over Counter-Strike. And I think Counter-Strike's only so big because it's been going for so long, and the professional scene was developed much earlier than the professional scene was developed for Call of Duty.
I'll agree with that 100%. I've said it on air before. Counter-Strike's had a good run. It's time for it to die. It's been around for like 12 years now. It's older than some of the people playing COD 4. It's ridiculous. Die. Anyway, moving on. If we do switch to a one-bomb setup here, what are your guys' opinions on whether or not people should be able to see the bomb on the radar? Should the defensive team be able to see the bomb on the ground at all? I know Rob Wiz actually has experience playing with the one bomb at I-33. So, Rob, what was your take on going from the 5-bomb to the 1-bomb? It obviously didn't affect you guys too much, as you performed very well over there. But what's your take on this situation?
I don't really care, like, either way. I think 1-bomb was kind of fun to play with. I think it added a lot more depth to the game, and myself, I'm a Counter-Strike fan, so I prefer 1-bomb over multi-bomb. I don't know, just multi-bomb is just, I just don't like it. I hate that like anyone can plant. I don't know, I just don't like it.
He just doesn't like it. Alright, words from Rob Wiz from Evil Geniuses there. Moores looks like he has something to say on the topic. Again, we're talking about whether or not the offense, when dropping the bomb, whether it should even show up on the radar or whether the defense should be able to see it at all.
I believe so. With defense seeing it, I mean, if they get the kill, the guy calls it out, you can have like the B guys rotate to A and make a pretty good crossfire on it to see how it would work, and then it would come down to communication-wise for offense. They know that guy's dead. It was their job to protect him, and they failed at it, so now they have to go back and get it. So, I mean, when it all comes to it, you get to see more teamwork, more communication. I think it'd be 10 times better if defense could see it, like just the bomb on the ground, not like on the radar or anything. That'd be too, like, shitty.
Thank you, Morse. Head TGL COD 4 admin there. Let's kick it to Hackett, the man that has been the written word of the COD series for so long now. What is your take here?
Well, I guess I initially requested to talk when you first asked the question if the defense should be allowed to see the map, see the bomb rather, on the mini-map or in the map in general once it's down. And the answer to the first question is obviously not. The bomb shouldn't appear as a big yellow square for the defense at any time. As to whether it's actually visibly drawn on the map once it's down, once the carrier is dead, yeah, sure. I mean, it would make no sense if they couldn't actually see a physical bomb somewhere and then be able to know where it is and play against it. So I guess that's just answering that question.
Alrighty,
Nothing
Nabor, I'm
too
going to let you... No problem. Nabor, I'm going to let you cut in here. Then I'm going to kick it to Bodes. This looks like he's going to be going into depth on something. So, Nabor, take it away.
I just had a quick statement about when the bomb is down like that. You basically create almost a new situation every round. Like, no round is similar, you know. Like, sometimes defenses they get redundant and like scrim after scrim, you know, probably playing the same spots and the same, like, you know, setups. And if you have this single bomb, you have like a bomb down situation, you're gonna play the bomb, and you know that could be different every round, and that's sort of interesting, I think. And that's the only point I wanted to make.
Alrighty, to close this one up, we'll go to Bodes, experienced Counter-Strike player from Hassan. Looks like he has some thoughts here on the lower end of the community, not necessarily by numbers, but the skill gap. Again, these are professional players you're talking to here. These guys play for money. They do well at this, and we have to remember the masses are at the lower level. So, Bodes, what are your opinions here?
I know many people are in this channel are professional gamers. A lot of them will switch games, and some of them have been playing COD for plenty of time. we also have to take into look that, it's not only the professional gamers that have a say in this. It's also the lower level teams. Without the lower level teams, the professional division doesn't exist. So, back to what I wanted to say something about the one bomb thing. It's a possibility, but we don't have to agree on a one bomb. It could be a two bomb, a three bomb, or a four bomb. It's just an agreement on a certain amount of bombs that need to be put in, or a certain class that owns it. And I think that it'll make the actual base of the game more skill based, and that's what the pro teams are looking for.
All right, thank you. And on that note, you kicked to my idea. Mayday, if you could kick to the slide about the SMG class, that'd be great. This is an idea, I don't know if I coined it or not, probably not. I don't have that much luck. But I'll ask you professional players out there, what are your opinions? Because I know there's a lot of talk about completely removing the SMG class from the Call of Duty 4 competitive play. My opinion, that's a huge mistake as it takes out a dynamic in the game. But riddle me this. Say you limit the SMG class to 2, and each SMG has a bomb kit. So you have 2 bombs on the field, but you can no longer rush 2 SMGs to a bomb site for fear of losing both bombs in the bomb site. I think it would add an interesting dynamic to it, so if anybody has anything to say about such nonsense, let me know. And Starbuck, I'll let you go first here.
Alright, I think that's, I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I think it's counterproductive to put the bomb with a class that should be rushing. I totally agree with limiting Spec Ops to, 2, or even just limit the damage done by the actual gun through walls and everything. Like 74U through walls is just unacceptable, and I mean, I use it all the time, so I know it is. But putting 2 bombs or 3 bombs or however many bombs you want on just the SMG class, on just the Spec Ops class, would be counterproductive, because Spec Ops should be running into the bomb, should be, the first in line to go in, because if that doesn't happen, if we put the bomb on the Spec Ops, what's going to happen is we're going to have M4s going in the bomb and the Spec Ops behind him, and that it just doesn't make any logical sense.
Alrighty, I'll agree with that. Perhaps we could think about doing a bomb kit limited to 2 per team. Let's actually change the subject to that. If we were to limit the bomb kits 2 to a team, to whichever class you should so choose, giving the team the option of attacking 2 bomb sites at once, which is one of the things I love about the COD series, is when it comes down to the clutch situation, if you have multiple bombs on the field, it really puts the defense on their heels rather than actually having people camp bomb sites or camping the bomb once it's been dropped. So, Nabor, yet again, what's your take on the subject? Is that a random
sorry.
one?
Yeah.
All right. Moors, I'm going to assume you have something here.
No.
All right, guys, you're killing me here. All right,
I'll just tell you
Havoc,
it's a bad idea.
go ahead.
Bad idea.
What reason?
Multi-bomb or 1 bomb. I'd rather have 1 bomb than go for something like that.
Alrighty.
Just too complicated. No real reason to do that. I can see the pros and cons for 1 bomb or 5 bombs, but anything else, there's really no other good alternative.
And Hackett, what's your view here?
I was going to pretty much say the exact same thing Mike just did. Basically, it's kind of getting off topic, and I don't think it's a viable option or one worth discussing, because we have 2 very different but simultaneously very possible options, and presently being run in 2 very big different leagues, Europe and North America. So I mean, before we get all caught up in limiting classes to bombs, like maybe give one guy a smoke, maybe allow the scope to use an ACOG, like it's completely immaterial and irrelevant before we figure out exactly we got to get on the same page about the bombs.
I agree. What I was looking for there, to sort of bring up a discussion, is a happy medium between the 2. Evidently not so much. Bodes, go ahead.
This is Bodes from Team Hassan. If we're going to go to 1 bomb, we have to be able to drop the bomb. It's too hard to deal with having one person have the bomb the entire round, not being able to drop it to someone, or you're forced into 2-on-2 picks and leaving the bomb in spawn and picking with a 2-minute round timer, and I don't think it'll work out without being able to drop the bomb.
I will definitely agree with that. Bombs should be droppable whenever one should choose to do so. I don't think you should have to die to drop the bomb. Moving further into this topic, as it is, as mentioned, the most prevalent topic at hand, aside from the deep impact, aside from the SMG classes, I would like to see this worked out very, very soon, because I'm sure most of the players in here, excluding Evil Geniuses, have not played against European teams thus far. In COD2, we only saw only one matchup in Dallas, as far as European and North American teams going at it. And I have to ask the North American players here. I'm sure the majority of you would agree that by standards, the Europeans are far ahead of us in the competitive realm. And I'm not by any means suggesting that we abandon what we've done for so long in North America, but do you think the overall impact of the one bomb would further competitive gaming in North America, or is it trivial enough that the 5 bomb could make COD4 just as big a game as a one bomb setup would? And NRV, if you'll kick in on that.
Personally, since like I was saying before, since Call of Duty's always been multi-bomb, that's what North America knows, and that's what North America likes, and that's why this game is the #1 game on Xbox 360. But that has nothing to do with PC, even though 360 has single bomb. But that's a whole other issue that we could talk about later. Aside from that, my mic.
All right, I think he's having some mic issues there. We'll take it away from him. Let him fix his mic up here. I believe Hackett was the next one I saw go up. So, Hackett, your feelings on whether or not the actual bomb number will affect COD4's competitive status in North America?
You know what? Call of Duty 2, the biggest LAN event we had was the WSVG at Dallas, which was attended by 26 teams. 23 of those were North American teams. 4 months after COD4's release, we have 29 teams show up to a $5,000 event in Pennsylvania, and we're planning on 48 plus for the next one, and then we're renting a goddamn nightclub in October to get, what, 64 teams? We're looking at our sponsors. Telmo, I know, has been talking to Activision. They need to get a number. They need to get people registered before they can start getting more and more money in. But no, the game has proven already that it's absolutely possible to grow very wildly successful as multi-bomb. That isn't to say that there's not a potential for more success as single bomb. It's just that, again, they're both very viable options that are worth considering, worth this discussion, and worth trying out in mini tournaments and pre-seasons and small leagues. But multi-bomb won't kill the game. Absolutely not.
All right, Hackett from Focal as well as Got Frag giving you some words there. I'm going to go ahead and go to Nabor here and see what he has to say on the subject.
I don't think there's a positive relationship between the game's success and what bomb setting we use. I think both, as Kyle said, are viable and have proven to be successful in both leagues, European and North American. So I don't think that's a relationship. I think the game will succeed. It'll go to its lengths regardless of what choice was made on that.
All right, I'm going to change the subject mildly here. I will get to other guys that had something to say on that. Ted and Starbuck. I will get to you guys, but if we are talking about multiple bombs and single bombs here in the Call of Duty series, my question to you, if it is not going to affect the popularity or the competitive stance of the game in North America, are we going to end up seeing 5 bombs in North America and 1 bomb in Europe and get nothing accomplished here? What do we gain is what I'm asking. What do we gain by either switching to the Euro rule set or vice versa? And Ted, if you have a comment?
Yeah, the whole reason this discussion is even taking place is because of the whole thing about unifying a rule set, and that was something that came down to back when COD2 hit WSVG, because there was that first international event there, and it's the same thing now because people are starting to realize that this game is big and it's going to have international events. If we weren't having these international events, we wouldn't be talking about single bomb or multi-bomb. And the discussion for going into single bomb isn't even relevant, or I wouldn't say relevant, but the only reason we're even considering it is because the and I don't mean to go start bashing the Europeans, because I love them to death, but the only reason we're even talking about moving is because they won't. Their heads are in the ground. They don't want to hear multi-bomb. They don't care what we have to say. And that's why we're stuck doing all the work as far as trying to work on a unified rule set kind of thing.
Well, let me add one more thing on that, because I've talked to a couple of people throughout the community that kind of relates to what you're saying, Ted. Is that some would say they can justify unifying the rule sets throughout all the North American leagues, Cal, CBO, TGL, etc. What point is there unifying with the Euros? I mean, most of the teams that are in North America, maybe but 3 or 2%, will never step a foot in Europe to play a LAN. So I mean, why not keep our own rule sets for NA LANs? I mean, that's just a little bit adding on to what you're saying, Ted.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, I mean, EG it's the matter of just simplifying it across the board. It's the reason why all the leagues sync up the maps. It's the reason why all the North American online leagues do the same rules. It's so when you practice, you don't have to go from rule set to rule set. You know what I mean? It's why all the rules have been synced up to make it easier on the teams. If we have, the top teams playing, European rule set and the bottom teams playing North American rule set, this, that, and the other thing, it gets nuts. So it's like going into when COD4 first came out. It's like going into COD4 Scrim, and you have people there scrimming everything from sabotage, domination, search and destroy. It's all over the place. The whole point of like I said, the whole point is that we're trying to unify a rule set for these international events. But like I said, the big problem is that the Europeans aren't interested in negotiating. So it's our job to sort of kind of make it go, work in a way.
I agree, and not to say that the Europeans are being stubborn by any chance, but gaming is much more prevalent over there, and we of course want to achieve that. In my opinion, at least as far as sponsorship dollars, land money, that sort of things, it's much greater in Europe, and that's why they do not see the need to change. And I don't think it's an argument that we're going to win. And as far as that goes, to me, it doesn't matter if we continue playing 5-bomb in North America and 1-bomb in Europe. Other than those international tournaments. How many of those we'll see, I'm not sure. I'm sure it'll be much more than we saw for COD2, of course, the nightclub in Jersey. I don't know what the event is going to be called yet. I'm sure we will see European teams there if the money is big enough. And again, it all comes back to money. Before we finish this up, real quick, you guys with comments, I will get to you. I want to bring in the league admins here. We haven't heard much from them. I'm going to bring in Tannehill from CBO. We'll bring in Moores from TGL and Sean from Cal. And I'm going to start with you, Sean. As far as unifying a rule set for North American leagues, what are your opinions on doing so? Because I know there are some small differences between the few leagues that we do have that are prevalent here.
Well, up until Moores released his tournament rule set, we were all pretty much on the exact same page anyways, and I believe we'll all maintain being on the same page, at least in North America. I speak with Ian fairly regularly and Moores on occasion as well, and our relationship is good across the board for North American leagues, so I'm not overly concerned about remaining unified in North America unless somebody decides to go AWOL, but I don't see that happening. We pay very close attention to what the community wants, and we test out things, and eventually we generally arrive at the same conclusions. What's going to remain to be seen is whether or not we end up on the same page as the Europeans.
Okay. Tannehill, Moores?
Yeah, that's something that I don't get what you're saying on that. Well, because me and Moores and me and Sean and all three of us talk quite a bit, and like Sean said before this, we were almost identically unified on everything with our rule sets. I think obviously the only difference would be TWL, but how can you go there on that? But it's I think no matter what, I think you're going to see a lot of the time with North America, we're going to stay unified here, because you're not going to, for one, you're not going to see many European teams come over here for any lands, so people are going to use a unified rule set that they're used to playing on over on this side of the pond. Now, granted, I've said this before to a lot of people, I'm all for testing out your rule sets. As Moores has already said, he's making his next tournament with it. Sivo is probably going to be testing it soon. I'm sure Cal will test it in preseason. But, I do think that we're going to stay unified throughout the board on whatever we do, probably.
Okay. I mean, whether that was common knowledge to you guys, which I'm sure it was. Again, we have a lot of people not as, in with the community as the people in this channel. And again, the base of this community is, your Cal Opens, your TGL amateurs, the CEVO amateurs. So want to let everybody know where we stand on that. To close this up, we got a few people with comments on the subject, and it looks like Havix from Team Guardians has something here.
Oh, I just want to say, I say we just do completely conform the Europeans, but keep multi-bomb, and all of North America unifies with that. And if you guys remember about like Europeans conforming to us, if you guys remember in like WSEG in COD2, the Europeans for a period of time they took out smoke completely because of the smoke glitch, which is actually still prevalent in COD4, but not many people know about it. But they took out smoke completely, and we kept it in, and eventually the Europeans went back to putting smoke back in. I don't know if it was to conform with us, but they had, we did get unified again by the end of COD2. And I'm just saying, like, if we conform that much to them and do everything that they have, except for multi-bomb, maybe eventually they'll conform with us, especially if some big events come by.
Most definitely, most definitely. Rob Wiz, actually the only member in here, I believe, that has played both rule sets competitively, has something to say here.
Yeah, I just want to say, if we're trying to unify a rule set, someone said this before, the Euros aren't going to change anything. Like, I've talked to like every top team over there when we were at I-33, and everyone is satisfied with their rule set. They're not going to change anything, so if we want to unify, like, it's basically just going to be us using what they use. And like, it's not even that bad. Like, if you play with it, you're gonna like it, I guarantee it.
Alrighty, and I agree to that to an extent. Once you start playing a game, I mean, if COD4 had come out of the blocks as a single play or a single bomb, which it did, I should say, if it came out of the blocks through the competitive, CEVO Finish the Fight tournament and through things like that with a single bomb, I don't think we'd even be having this discussion, but we are. So we're going to talk about it, but I agree, after a certain amount of time, once you're playing it for long enough, it won't matter. But again, several more comments to be said here. Tannehill from CEVO.
One of the things here, I think Havix talked about the COD2, when in COD2 at WSVG, I just want to point out that in COD2 with the smoke, we took out, we were at 2 snipers at the start. We took out that, and we both kind of came halfway on that. So I think that was a lot of things that both all the admins in this game were hoping to see is, we take out certain things, they should be able to take out certain things too. And then again, Rob came back with a valid point. I think once you have this gone for so long, people are going to get used to it. But I do think why just go to the Euro rule set just for the sake of going to the Euro rule set? I've said this time and time again. We can make things even better by combining both of the two.
Agreed. There may be some leeway between the two, North America and Europe, although right now it doesn't seem to be that way. But again, North America willing to compromise, so to speak, here to move to a different rule set, or else we wouldn't all be here talking about this. We do have several people from Europe attending, so of course that's nice to have. Hackett, what do you have to say about this?
Alright, I posted this on a GoffReg comment to the original post earlier today, and I think it just bears repeating because it's been talked about but not really stated so directly, that the purpose of our rule set's immediate future isn't to just strictly comply to the European model, and it shouldn't be. We shouldn't say, well, they're having more success than we're having. Their games are more exciting. They have better players, they have more money, so that's our model, we should adopt it. But again, the community leaders, the league administrators, the top teams, even the lower class teams, whatever, I think they have a responsibility to the community to, give it a chance, or if they don't want to give it a chance, then, disagree and state why. I think, like, Cal's going to be running a tournament with this, preseason maybe. CEVO's going to run a miniature tournament, I think, with a small pay-in or whatever, with European rules, with modifications, and, that'll be the opportunity then to see if you like it, see if you don't like it, and then talk about why, instead of this just gross bias for one or the other, which is really not too productive.
Well, I agree. Interesting take on that. Moving on to something slightly different here, talking about the events that we will have for Call of Duty 4 in North America. Of course, the prize payouts in Europe have been phenomenally bigger than anything we've seen in the United States. I'm not really sure what the payout was at the first LAN that I believe was in Michigan. NERV was a 5K tournament, and that's small potatoes compared to what we're hoping to get through this game. And whether or not we see something like WSVG take place, hopefully many of them take place. I would like to see Call of Duty 4 last through, COD 5, COD 6, whatever comes out for PC. I would like to see this game's life extended to the point where we become an anchor in the community of gaming, just like Counter-Strike did. And we'll move into CGS and things like that very shortly. Bodes has a comment sort of about the rule sets as well as LANs across the pond and here.
Hi, this is basically about the fact that the Europeans have many more LANs. I-33 is already put out 2. They had the COD 4 Cup. We've had a NERV LAN. We don't have that many LANs. We need more LANs. We need to be pushing for trying to get WCG in on this. ESWC, I think, announced something about a COD 4 qualifier. CPL's dead, WSVG is dead in America. So we have no massive LANs other than NERV. NERV didn't have all the sponsors that we're talking about for this mass money, and mass money is what built around Counter-Strike, which got it big. WCG getting into COD 4 might make this game a lot more competitive. And like Rob Wiz said, I wanted to make a comment on that. People got to be open about the configs and the rule set of what's going on. You won't know if you like it until you play it. And I think the top teams either way are going to be able to adapt to that because they're good players and they can play any game, any FPS, and be good at it. And that's about it.
Oh, I will agree with that. Again, it is very important that we get the competitive side of this worked out. But also, what the competitive community does dictates pretty much what the public does as far as your average gamer, your average Cal Open player, people that are playing for fun. And again, we've seen that very much so in the United States with the CGS rule set in Counter-Strike. Once adopted by CGS, it was pretty much, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a Counter-Strike player. The way I understand it, the CGS rule set was adapted by the majority of the other leagues. I could be horribly wrong there. That's just what I've been told. So on that note, I'll ask you guys this question. If a predominant league or predominant LAN organization came in with a European rule set offering more money, of course we would take it. But as far as COD 4 going into CGS and things of that like, could we see further rule set changes if we do adapt a new rule set here very soon, specifically with the European rule set? So I'll ask you guys that if you see companies like that or LAN organizations like that having a bigger effect on what the actual rule set is than the average gamer. If anybody has any comments on that, I don't see anybody right now. Speak up if you guys have anything to say on that subject.
This is Bodes. I just want to agree with Want. For Counter-Strike Source, they did take into consideration when they came up with their own CGS rules, the rules of both the leagues, but they try to make it more towards the TV side. I'm not sure if CGS would be 100% good for COD 4 until it matures.
All right, Ted?
Yeah, I'm going to first start off with Bud's little comment there. I think, people have all these opinions about CGS, and personally I think it's a good thing, but like you said, I think our game is not ready for CGS. Putting it in CGS would not be a good thing at the current moment. I personally think CGS still needs to grow. But one of the things that Wansum said about the LANs and how the LANs kind of force the rule set, and one of the things that I need to bring up back about the smoke thing with COD2 and WSVG, the reason why the Europeans switched was simply just because they switched back to smoke was because of WSVG, because WSVG admins came to both myself and Ben from SOTF, who was also working for us at the time, and they said come up with a rule set. So we pretty much put our rule set in WSVG, and the Europeans had to go over to smoke. Now, when you're talking about these different lands, and all these lands are great that are happening in Europe, and they're offering, big prizes, but they're still not ESWCs. They're not SCGs. They're not these major events that we think of, when we think of the CPL and stuff. And that's always going to be a problem, because as big of a prize purse as these events are going to pop out, an I-34 is not going to attract the same kind of attention that ESWC is. It's not going to attract the same kind of attention that WCG is, simply because of the magnitude of the event, the stadium, and everything else that goes along with it. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Ted. Anger had something to add on the subject.
Well, not necessarily the subject in whole, but this basically, if everybody's done with this particular subject, I like to switch it up a little bit to the scopers. Mainly, one of the things I wanted to talk to Juvenile from Nexus was this, the scope aspect of this between the op fix and the lerp fix, and basically some of the scopers out there have hit me up and wanted to know what the feelings were on that fix.
This is Jude from Nexus. Honestly, I think lerp is 10 times better than optics. It still keeps the COD aspect of the scope around, and it completely fixes it. I've seen some of the Euros say about how you can spam it, etc., but I mean, you still gotta hold your breath, so it's not like you can just constantly spam. And I mean, you do have the bolt action it, so I don't think it's, I don't know. Like I said, lerp's way better than op, no doubt.
All right, definitely a point for discussion there. Again, the scope, often criticized, but so fun in the COD series. Of course, not as prevalent as the COD2, well, I should say the prank era, more likely. No scope idiot, there's such fun scope action to watch in COD 2. Not as prevalent in COD 4, but of course the jump shots, they're crazy, they're fun to watch. So again, I appreciate everybody coming tonight, giving us your opinions on everything. That pretty much does it for the questions I had pre-arranged, Anger. If you have anything to add, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to get a couple questions out from the community in whole here, and then basically it's going to be to anybody that really wants to answer these particular questions. Let me get these really sorted out really quick here, and really this is from Sorrow from Ninja Turtles. Actually, he has a few of them here. And one of the questions I found semi-intriguing here was, how about leaving deep impact in, but lowering it to 30 to 50% of its strength? Is anybody want to take that question?
I think I can take it.
Okay.
That's definitely an option, and it all goes back to the whole thing with options and COD4, and while I think it might be a nice idea, it just complicates things. It's the same thing we were talking about, the single bomb versus the 5 bomb, and then once some mentioned like putting in 2 bombs. I personally think that it just starts to complicate things when you start to change the exact physics of the game too much.
Okay. Let's see here as I'm going through this really quick, and I can't tell you who exactly said it because, again, I'm filtering through all these questions, but basically, if anybody wants to answer this too, what do you guys feel about knifing for side choice? I know the Europeans do it. It seems somewhat different and maybe fun, but maybe the novelty would wear off really quickly. Your opinions on that?
I'll take this one. Morris from TGL. I'm for it. I think it'll bring a good aspect to it, because I mean, really, home team is really just like server wise, in my opinion. I think it would bring a little more entertainment at the beginning to have the team win the knife round, they get their side of the choice. I think more teams would like that.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it adds something fun to it, and it's also random. You can say it's not necessarily up to par with things being fair as far as having a home server and the other team gets side choice. But again, when you're playing, especially at the upper tier, you're going to have nice servers to play on. Doesn't really matter where you're at. things like that. So I would agree. I think it would be fun to shoutcast.
All right, I have one more here from the man here from Mob. What do the following admins think about removing the orange dots from the radar after you're firing your guns? Or players too. Anybody can take that?
Remove it. Also, the knifing thing's a bad idea. It's just a waste of time. People take too long to ready up as it is. Wanted to say that. I don't feel like sitting in the server waiting on other team to ready up, because you have to like fast restart afterwards. I just don't want to waste the time. And obviously take out the orange dots on the minimap if that's possible.
All right.
It's a no-brainer.
Go ahead. Hackett, you had something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, well, you had a no-brainer, and that's pretty much the summary of what I was going through my head right now. You have two different options. Either, you know, the person who's up locating whoever just fragged their teammate, you know, is entirely dependent on the good call, you know, where their position and like how they react and how intelligently they play, versus the second option where the guy doesn't need to calm. He can check the peak side of his screen, see a big orange circle. You know, I mean, it's not that it's just like, it's not even just directing him to it. It's locating the person. It tells you if he's inside a building. It tells him if he's behind the wall. You know, it might as well tell you if he's friggin' proning. I think that you want to. I mean, the word skill gap was probably thrown. Well, the phrase was probably thrown around 20 or 25 times the first half hour and hasn't been said since. But I mean, if there's one thing that's going to make the game more skill dependent, obviously, I mean, it's like you said, no-brainer. Make the game dependent on calls, dependent on your intelligence, your reflex, your team position. Right, teamwork. We talk about teamwork for the first hour, and no one brings it up across the board. Everyone says, well, you know, this. If we change multi-bomb, yeah, that'll be teamwork. Well, let's take a teamwork angle, let's take a teamwork position, and say, okay, make the game about teamwork.
I would agree, but I would also disagree in the stance of LANs. I know Nabor is no longer in here. He's been one of the biggest advocates against ghosting at LANs, and of course online, once you're dead, you can talk as much as you like. And going into a LAN situation, you can be penalized for ghosting after you're dead. That's a whole other animal. We won't get into that. We'll go off topic too far with that. On this note of especially getting into the minimap, which brings up silencers, of course. One of the things the community has been very talkative about, again, off the subject of the 5 bombs and the 1 bomb, we've kind of nailed that one to death. Thoughts on red dot sites? You know, yay or nay? Should they be here? Should they not be here?
Take them out.
Yeah, take them out.
They,
I don't know.
What's this?
Without the red dot sights, you get more muzzle flash with the iron sights. It takes a little more skill.
I don't know. I think red dot and like deep impact. Like, I don't know. If you watch the Euro Shoutcast, all they ever used was the AK-74 and AK-47, and I think they had to do with both deep impact and no red dot. I mean, if you take out deep impact and red dot, like I said, it'll turn exactly what the Euros do in those two guns. I think if you take out deep impact, you at least have to keep in red dot, and that will still be that will still keep the MP5 and M4 a viable option.
The M4 actually
is... I think the red dot should not be... you basically need to take it out. It's just... It seems too easy. There's no muzzle. Just like Havoc said, he nailed it on the dot. I mean, the red dot is just... It's dumb.
The M4, you can definitely use it without the red dot. I actually prefer to use it without a red dot now, because it's better at long range. Most guns are better at long range without the red dot, as it is. But overall, seems like it takes a little more skill, because you have to look through a little iron sight with muzzle flash compared to the red dot thing at medium range.
Well, I don't know.
All right.
Anything you can do to increase the skill gap, you gotta do it.
It's too easy to kill someone with the red dot. I mean, especially without muzzle flash. It makes the game easier, and I mean, less skill base. We're talking about skill base, and we want to bring skill to the game. I just think the red dot it just makes it too easy.
And we already have no sway on, or no sway off.
Exactly.
So we're like shooting laser guns. It's ridiculous. There's no skill in this game at all, individually.
All right, a heated discussion here. Guys, we're going to have to close this up pretty soon. We got another cast to get into. I want to thank everybody that did stop by, everybody in the community. Thank you for listening. Again, thank you to all the European guys that did make their way over here to talk about the rule set, things of that like. We will do this again, Anger. I can say that without a doubt. This was a good response. The community showed up, and we got a lot of things talked about. We didn't get a lot of things solved, but we did get a lot of things talked about. In the further weeks, I'm sure we will get to some agreements on things with these seasons winding down. So closing thoughts here. That's pretty much it for me. Anger, if you have anything to add here, we'll get out of here.
Well, again, I want to thank everybody that took their time out of their their schedules and come in here to discuss this. And basically, with this cast tonight, we just wanted to get a bunch of these topics out in the open, evaluate potential adjustments in the current rule settings, and respond to the community feedback. I mean, our intention is not to force feed the European rule set on the community, but find a rule set that the community can come close to agreeing on. I mean, this will not be achieved within a day or a few weeks or months. But I mean, basically, we just want to get on the right path to achieve the rule set that everyone desires. And this is a little personal thing, I guess, from me anyway. The NA community challenged you, the European community, to meet us halfway to a unified rule set if we want to achieve this for the prosperity and the longevity of cross-platform landing. It's better for the game. It's probably better for the longevity of the game. So that's all I really have, and hopefully maybe the next cast that we have on this topic, maybe we can get some European influence on this and maybe try to get this nailed down. I know, again, Morris from TGL has already set the precedents, at least with no deep impact and things like that. So you may want to, players may want to talk to him on that, as he's going to implement that in his tourney coming up. So we'll see how that takes place, and I think after talking to Watson, we will do like a beta cast just to see how the one bomb and all the Euro rule sets could play out. So I'm going to talk to a couple teams and see if anybody's interested in that, taking place in that, and maybe some of you people need to see it from a North American perspective and get their comments on that. So at least until next time, I appreciate everybody coming by, giving your questions. Again, this is the place where we try to discuss things for the community. So until the next cast, adios.
Love you, Naz.
Hi, Templar.
Applied directly to the forehead. e-rev. Applied directly to the forehead.
e-rev is not responsible for any monitor to head-related injuries. View at your own risk.
e-rev.